It was a magnitude 7 quake centered about 10 miles west of the capital.
Their homes are destroyed and hospitals flattened by the strongest earthquake to hit the Caribbean nation in more than 2 centuries.
Our prayers are with the people who have suffered.
Time is of the essence as the search continues for people trapped in the wreckage.
The reports that are collected by UNOS, the United Network of Organ Sharing, have demonstrated that there's really only been, in the whole history of living donor transplants, about 230 of those that have been non-directed donors.
I was just looking to say, I just want to donate a kidney. I don't need to know who it's for. It can be anonymous. It's what they call non-directed, meaning not for any one specific person.
A non-directed donor, by every definition, is a true hero in this world. It's an individual who, in addition to having no expectation of reward for themselves, says that I am interested in donating a life-sustaining organ to whomever is in need.
They were just instituting at University of Maryland Medical Center a paired kidney exchange, whereby individuals didn't need necessarily to have a donor who was a match.
Ed Bain, again being our non-directed donor, allowed us to bring this chain to reality. Ed was our first donor. He donated to a man who actually lived here in the state of Maryland.
He had a friend of the family who was willing to donate. It was not a match for him, but was a match for a 10-year-old boy. The wife of the husband who actually donated was a teacher's aide in this young boy's school, and she was not able to donate for some medical reasons. The husband said, "Let me get tested."
Again, just a miraculous story. So he decided he wanted to be a donor. He donated to a gentleman who actually lived all the way down in Florida, who had been on our wait list for years.
That man's wife was a healthy donor. She donated then to a 74-year-old great-grandfather. That great-grandfather has a son-in-law who is a willing and capable donor, who will be the next one in the chain to continue it.
And everybody is, of course, thrilled to have received this gift of life via this chain, but had it not been for Mr. Bain, this wouldn't have happened.
That evening of the surgery, one of the residents came in and I was asking him, "How's the recipient doing?" And he says, "He's doing fine and so is your kidney." And it was really at that point that it struck me, oh my goodness, my kidney is in somebody else now. They have a normal checkup, and they also invited anyone who wanted to come back to return. Just so happened my recipient chose not to participate in the meeting, if you will, which was fine by me. You know, I went in knowing that I might never know. But I know it's somebody in their 20s, a male in their 20s. So I can think of it as I have 3 sons, they're all in their 20s, so I just feel, okay, it would be like giving to one of them possibly.
If you ever have the opportunity of meeting Ed, Ed inspires everyone. He's someone who will be the first to tell you that he wants no credit, he deserves no credit, he shouldn't be a hero.
If someone calls me a hero, I said, I'm not a hero. I didn't do anything that special. It's not that difficult. It's a few days of, a little bit of pain, but minor, very minor discomfort really in the whole scheme of things. And when you realize the benefits that you're giving, not only to an individual, to one recipient, but really to their whole family. Because if they're on dialysis, their whole family's affected. I'm very active in scouting. I would hope part of my legacy would be how I've worked with youth, and that them growing up and becoming fine young men will be part of the legacy. Raising my sons, my family, other things I've done. But also part of the legacy is helping someone else in a significant way. And by donating an organ, that's hopefully will be one part of the legacy that I leave.
I got a call for unresponsive male who wasn't breathing in front of Atwood Hall, and I knew at that time that it was a pretty serious call, and I also realized Atwood Hall, and I'm at Atwood Hall, and I looked over and I saw a few people on the stairs over here. So I ran over. I think they said my response time was around 7 seconds.
So I ran over here, and Mark was already on scene with Nick gregory-bernstein. I saw an elderly gentleman. He was actually being supported, sitting on the steps.
Checked if he was breathing. He wasn't breathing. Checked for a pulse. There was no pulse.
So I got in my car, came over here and parked right in front of the library right up there in the crosswalk, and actually a student yelled at me because they're like, "You can't park there," and I just, just kept on running.
My EMT instructor told me that when you're on a serious call, it's almost as if you're a duck, and on the top of the water, you're this calm duck just floating along, but underneath the paddles are like flying and going crazy, but no one can see that, and that was definitely happening.
We started the AED, attached the pads, waited for the AED to start analyzing, and then instead to shock.
And I had like the breathing stuff, so I had to help the patient with, keep the patient breathing for him while he wasn't breathing himself.
He pushed the bag off and his eyes just popped open, and he looked around, he just looked at all of us, and the first thing he did was he winked at us.
And then just went, "Oh, I thought for a second there I was a goner."
Like, "How are you feeling?" And he says, "A lot better than I did before." I'm like, "Well, great, that's our job."
Worcester EMS took over, took him to the hospital, and as far as I know, he's doing well today.
They train so hard, they absolutely do what's required of them, mandated-wise, training-wise. But then they do so much more, which is part of the complete package of all five. Not just all five, but the whole squad.
It definitely has solidified my drive to be pre-med. Afterwards, I called my mother to tell her that, what happened, and she was like, "You sure this is what you want to do?" Like, after, experiencing it firsthand, and I said, "Definitely."
Being a full-time student is tough. Like, I'm an economics and business student, so what I do really has no bearing on these skills, or what I learn in those classrooms really doesn't carry over to here, but it's a nice change of pace. That's why I like to do it.
The academic demands here at Clark University are tremendous with their coursework and their course loads. So to be able to balance that with this dedication, this 25 to 35 hours per week of volunteerism is a tremendous balancing act for them, and they do it extraordinarily well.
They saved a gentleman's life on our property, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the ultimate task. And as far as I'm concerned, all five of them, Nick, Mark, Jason, Alex, and Nick, are heroes. They were heroes before this night, but they are certainly heroes now.
What is your definition of a hero?
Probably a guy with a mask and a cape.
Gangel's parents, Len and Cheryl Ann, returned home to Massachusetts Friday afternoon, heartbroken and devastated.
While their rescue efforts will take place, if possible, this has largely become a recovery effort.
Gangels originally thought their daughter had been rescued from the Hotel Montana where she was staying while on a service mission in Haiti, but it was all a terrible mistake.
We were back at a local restaurant, and a few people piled into this restaurant, and we were just standing around socializing, shooting the breeze.
We recognized that my daughter had happened to be in there with her boyfriend.
They were seated, and I remember Dan sending over a seafood platter of sorts to the table.
All of a sudden I had a tapping on my shoulder, and the fellow got my attention and of course was pointing to his throat.
I remember one person holding up their cell phone and saying, "I've got 911 on the phone, do we call them?"
I flipped him around and decided to do the Heimlich maneuver on him, but the kid had just come back from 2 tours as a Marine Corps from Iraq, and he had a washboard stomach that was as hard as any of these walls in here.
And he just said, "It's not working," and so I kind of said, "I'll step in." I got behind him and grabbed his lower waist, his stomach area, and performed the Heimlich. Probably around the 8th or 10th time, Anthony coughed. And I put him down, and at that point I thought maybe his airway was clear. And sure enough, when he went, it's still lodged, but at least he could function and tell us that.
Anthony was struggling for sure, and I offered to try myself. And we were able to get Anthony to the point where he could successfully cough up the oyster and clear his passageway.
People do tend to step up to the plate, and you just don't think about it because you've got a life on the line here of some capacity, and you just really want to say, "Hey, what can I do?" Some people want to clear out of the way because maybe their training isn't there. I have